Would you indulge me to clarify, since we run some numbers and the law, it would just be an active grace on the chair's part.
Okay.
It would be $35,000 for the backpack program, equally divided among the counties, not 25, to the entities that administer it, and then it would be up in that amount.
Okay, but
Yes.
but are you asking for them
Yeah, I
to
think.
change
I think
from
they're-
25
right, I
to
think they're-
35?
Right.
Now, does that increase the contributions by 135?
Yes.
And that will make it the same as last year.
It will increase it because we're covering additional people.
Okay.
With a very good program.
Okay. So the motion that's on the floor is that we have 135,000 increase in contributions, with 2,000 going to food pantries, nutrition sites, and community buildings, and 35,000 going to the backpack nutrition program.
One of the
Yes.
clarification on the community organizations, I want it to be community organizations.
Community organizations
Yeah.
rather than community buildings.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if that's second to that.
Yeah, well, I had Councilor Cobb first. Then the question's been called after Councilor Cobb.
I just still want to, I mean, I'm still confused. We're in a budget process. Where's the money coming from? I'm not
That-
clear on that. I don't know.
That's all part of the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the question's been called. Does everyone understand the motion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Roll call, please. I'm ready.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Don Garvin,
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Hannah Glory Jordan,
Yes.
Chris Soap, Curtis Snell,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Kara Callan Watts,
No.
Bill England,
Yes.
Bill John Baker,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
No.
Harley Buzzard,
No.
Julia Coates,
No.
Bradley Cobb,
No.
Joe Crittenden,
Yes.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley.
Yes.
We have 10 yes and 6 no.
Okay, motion carried. Okay. Councilor Jordan.
This is actually a joint motion to give $100 to each child who participates in a livestock show out of Community Youth Assistance.
I'll second that.
So the motion's been made that we give $100 out of out of which?
Community Youth Assistance. We've previously added $50,000 to the $300,000. And this motion would direct that each child that participated in a livestock show would receive $100 if they were a Cherokee child. Yeah, they didn't, we're trying to cover the children that did not make the premium sale.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Councilor Watts.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I just want to note that those children can apply for up to $250 under the K-12 Community Assistance Program. So it doesn't make sense for us to also give an automatic $100. And then the ones that also achieve the sale get $100, plus they also have access up to $250 for the K-12. So and we don't have a fund identified for this money, so I think it's problematic. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Counselor Thornton.
I'd have to ask for a roll list on who received $250 for a livestock show before I would believe that statement.
Point of information, if
There's
you'll go
so
to
many-
Cherokee.org, anyone can apply.
There's so many other programs that those youths apply for and use that money. They can't apply for two different programs, so I can't go along with that.
Just a point of clarification too, I may stand corrected, but I think that the program that she's talking about is income-based, and my motion is not income-based.
I'll call for questions.
She has the answer.
Call for the question.
Ms. Catcher.
The existing community youth assistance program is not income-based. And so, to that extent, a youth could apply for that program, and the 50,000 extra that was put in there was to increase it to a maximum of 250.
Questions?
Call before she talks.
Yeah,
Okay,
I called for the question.
well, if we're going to go by Robert's rules, let's go by Robert's rules. Call for the question is the same as previous question, which effectively shuts off debate and brings the vote to the question to immediate vote. That requires a 2/3 vote to do that.
But the call for the question, if there's no one waiting, then because I, like Calico Speaker Fraley, had asked that,
Oh, when debate is exhausted, yeah, it's appropriate, but previous or call for the question, the shut off debate requires a 2/3 vote. If there's unanimous consent for previous question, then it brings forward.
okay, questions have been called. Are there any objections? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Chris Oak,
No.
Curtis Snell,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Kara Kellen Watts,
No.
Bill England,
No.
Bill John Baker,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
No.
Harley Buzzard,
No.
Julia Coates,
No.
Bradley Cox,
No.
Joe Crittenden,
Yes.
Jody Fishenhoff,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley,
No.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Don Garvin,
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Ina Flora Jordan.
Yes.
We have 8 yes and 9 no.
Okay, motion failed. Okay, what I would like to do is have Doug proceed with his presentation.
Point of order.
Mr. Chairman.
There's not 17 people here. How could that be?
There are 17 people.
There's an empty chair.
It's Joe's.
That's mine.
Oh, duh. Well, there's no...
This is,
Okay. I didn't think, I thought somebody was not here.
okay, Counselor Hoskin.
Well, before we do that, I would like to make a motion that with respect to, and just use a visual here, everything on the, that we've discussed with respect to community youth assistance, donations and contributions on down through county livestock, actually with the exception of what we've done on county livestock, I move that all of those funds be essentially put into a reserve fund and that they not be administered until we enact enabling legislation with respect to each of these programs. So that we're not holding up the livestock programs. They're going forward. It doesn't touch Councilor Fishinghawk's nutrition initiative, which goes forward. Just with respect to these other things, which again, as I've stated before, is just a wholesale transfer of funds and power essentially from one branch to another. I do think we need to be a bit deliberate and enact legislation before we go forward. So I would say whatever that amount totals should go into a reserve fund, and that we would enact legislation to direct where those funds will go at a later time.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded that all the funds on the sheet for contributions other than those already passed this morning, we put into reserve until enabling legislation is passed.
Right, and this specifically would not impact anything we've done with respect to county livestock, which has some immediacy that attaches to it. And it would not affect Councilor Fishing Hawk's nutrition initiative, $135,000.
Okay. Councilor Baker.
Ball teams? If that's already done?
Well, it would include the ball teams, but I'd be open to a friendly amendment if you could explain what the issue is.
Well, never mind.
I mean, I certainly don't want to hold up funds. I know it's always ball season, but
Okay.
and I think we could act fairly quickly. I think we need to get a framework in place.
Okay. Councilor Cobb.
I applaud Councilor Hoskin. I think that's ultimately my point. I have absolutely no problem. That's our job. I do believe that. Instead of doing some of this on the fly, I think that's a great idea. And let's sit down and discuss these individually at committee and let's legislate if that's what our job is. So I absolutely am in support of that.
I'll second.
I think it had already been seconded. Yeah. Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. So motion carries. Okay. So, Doug, could we get you to, I started to say continue your presentation, but I will say that
Make sure we understand exactly what those motions did on the reserves, just for clarification. Which in particular, which ones need to be set aside and which ones don't? Because we can't, we're not going to be able to turn off part of an accounting unit's budget and leave part of it on if it's restricted for reserve by appropriation, if we could keep those clear and separated.
Well, it was to be everything except county livestock auction. I mean, we've already given direction with respect to some county livestock funds that I don't want to be held up. So that was not to be included. Councilor Fishing Hawk's nutrition initiative, I suppose it could be held up if that helps with respect to accounting, because there's not the immediacy that attaches to it as it is with the livestock auction. But
Well,
I just didn't want to harm anything that needed some immediate administration.
No,
it didn't.
I do.
The 135?
The 135 passed.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're talking about the 150 donation and contribution increase. Started at 200, went down to 150.
Correct.
The 50 community youth assistance, the 100 community adult assistance, and the 50 sports teams.
Right.
So 350,000 is going to be reserved by appropriation pending enabling legislation. I just want to make sure I understand what y'all just did to ensure that.
but we also have the 135 additional.
Well, it wasn't reserved though, correct? The motion was to not reserve that 135.
Well, make no mistake, I wanted that to be appropriated. I just didn't want it to be held. I mean, we had given specific directions with respect to that, and I didn't want it to be held up. But
Okay,
Todd,
so the 135 is included in the reserve amount.
if that gets, that was my intent, was that it not be held up in any way.
That's why I thought I understood the
So
motion.
I may have misspoke, but Mr. Embry might add some.
My understanding of the motion and the action of the body is that the $135,000 that was passed by a motion from Councilperson Fishing Hawk did not have a funding source. So therefore, it's not part of this, and it carries on. It's just one of the items that you're going to need to reconcile when you come down to the final passage of the budget. So her 135 is outside of these funds. The funds that have been reserved by your motion is the 50,000 community youth assistance, the 100,000 adult assistance, the 50,000 sports teams, And that's it, right?
And the 150.
Oh, and the 150 donations and contributions, correct? That's, so hers is already called out.
Which one?
Just a point of clarification, when it says held for enabling legislation, if we want to make a motion that from donations and contributions, community adult assistance, Cherokee sports teams, and county livestock auctions, that all of those come through this subcommittee that's going to be created instead of just being kept over in admin, would that be inappropriate at this time?
Yes, that's part of the
That'll be part of the
enabling
enabling legislation, okay. Well, just a note to the committee, that's one of the things I would be asking for, that it be a two-way street, that we look at them and he looks at them.
Okay.
I'm unclear.
So that, but, and Melanie Knight was in another meeting this morning, and she requested to be present at the Chief's budget presentation. And so, Doug, could I ask you to wait on that one and then go forward to the others?
Sure.
Pardon?
You want to recommend that?
Excuse me, Mr. Ingram.
Mr. Chairman, if the committee would so indulge, I would recommend that you would put the chief's budget, the tribal council budget, and the judicial budget, the three branches of government, to the last, and go forward with the groups, and then therefore we have a better idea of what we're playing with when we actually come to the government functions.
Okay. And the chair has no problem with that if there are no objections. Okay. Excuse me, Ms. Fisher, you had a question?
Oh, that's why I was wondering what tab we start on. I guess we start on commissions and boards then.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Tab 4.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, tab 4, commissions and boards. Oh, yeah. And we'll just progress straight through it now. Okay. In the Boards and Commissions budget, this is what it is. It appears to be misleading, but the fact of the matter is that the Arkansas Riverbed project is an earmarked project with designated funds that has remained unspent for the last 4 years. 300,000 of the 494 in 07 is due to that, the Riverbed project, as well as almost all the 379 in 08. Of the 557, 549 of it's the Riverbed project. So there's not a whole lot left in boards and commissions. Once we broke out the tax commission, the gaming commission, the other things that used to be in here, there's not much left in this fund. You can see that it's DOI self-governance is the source for those funds, and again, those are earmarked. You see some vacant positions that was in 07 and 08 that was removed in 9 and 10. And the one budgeted position was removed out of the budget in 08.
Councilor Jordan.
While he's giving his report, would it be, could I ask you to point out each tribally funded department that has unexpended funds for this current year, and how much, as you go through? I'm looking at the tribal dollars that are unexpended and appear that they're going to be carryover. And you'll probably, Kelly, you'll probably need to participate in this to some large extent. If it looks like they simply not using the tribal funds timely, would you point this out to this committee? Because we need to be looking for funding for other things.
I'd be happy to. The boards and commissions have no tribal funds. It's only funded from DOI self-governance as an earmarked riverbed project, and the Employee Appeals Board, which is funded a very small budget, $33,000 out of the indirect cost pool, but no tribal funds. You see the comment on the on the analysis portion on page 1 is both variances of the $76,000 budget increase as well as the $500,000 increase over 08 is in the contract services that hasn't been utilized for the riverbed project. That's all there is in this group. Any questions on?
Councilor Bishop.
I don't know if this is the right time to talk about it, but I think it might be. Taro, we've talked back and forth about making Taro its own commission, making it independent. So that's kind of what I want to bring up right now. Is this the proper time since it would go under boards and commissions?
No, we would have to wait until that legislation's passed and address it then.
Beg your pardon?
Well, there is no commission for Taro at this point.
But we're going to have to supply the budget.
But we can until we pass the legislation.
We just got earmarked some stuff, and we're passing enabling legislation later. I'm confused.
The Taro legislation has not been passed, so we don't have a commission set up for that.
The reserve money.
Yeah, we just now made a pot of money for something that we're going to pass enabling legislation for later. So can we not put a pot of money aside for the Taro Commission and pass enabling legislation for it later, just like we did before?
We don't have a Taro commission, so how can we put money aside for it?
We set aside for the
Well, what you would do is she could request an amount to put in reserve, much like we put in a reserve, what was $2 million for tax rebate on tobacco. And if we never pass enabling legislation, it's a budget surplus. But I mean, if she wants to put another $800,000 or whatever, what is it, 500? What? How much? $800,000 into reserve, or put it into a contingent reserve. That would be appropriate if this committee would pass. But but you're right, there is no Taro commission at this point.
Well, I want to make a motion to reserve $800,000 in case we pass legislation for a Taro Commission this month.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded that we reserve $800,000 for a Taro commission. Should we pass legislation to establish one? Okay. Councilor Watts.
Where are we getting the money from?
I'm not going to say it's not germane to the motion. What I'm going to say is I thought Callie and Doug done discussed like 2 hours ago that we was going to do it the same way we did last year. At the end,
Well,
we give Callie
this
the
would be a
option.
tribal commission, so I would recommend it be funded from the general fund.
Well, there would be no other source of funds. Ms. Ketchum.
I think we all realize that we have a limited amount of funds this year. When we started into our budget process, we reduced the budget request that came over to council by $9.6 million. Now we're reducing another $2.2 million. If we put $800,000 into a commission that doesn't even exist, we're going to have to start cutting other programs.
Okay, I think Tara roughly has a budget of $500,000 when you add all the different accounting units up, so we can have it, follow it. I will lower it down to $300,000.
So does your second accept lower it to 3?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Baker.
Well, and don't forget that Doug also pointed out that we have millions of dollars in salaries that are unfilled, and we're asking for more, and has he happily appropriated, if we hire all 500 people, the 300 or 400 that are not employed right now, that we've got holding positions for, plus the 116 that they're asking for, we've got no place to put them. So it's not really realistic that they're going to fill those anytime soon. And they've been carrying over unfilled positions for years. So I think if push comes to shove, they can find the money without cutting services to the people. Thank you.
Councilor Hoskin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Councilperson Peacock, would you, accept a friendly, it's at $300,000, would you accept a friendly amendment to reduce the advocacy initiative by $300,000? And when we get to the Attorney General's budget, perhaps she'll say, no, I need the full amount that the chiefs asked for, and then she can justify it. But as I look at what they expended last year and what they had, it seems to me that there's room for that. But
Yes, I'll accept.
There you have it.
Okay. So now the motion is that we take $300,000 out of the advocacy fund in the Attorney General's budget and set aside for the Tarot Commission. Okay. Any discussion? Yes, Councilor Jordan.
Kara has headed a committee for a number of months now that I've been part of the committee. I believe Jody's been part of the committee. I don't know who else has been part of the Tarot committee. And this keeps coming up that it really needs to be a standalone commission so that it has some teeth to do the things that need to be done. Advance laws of Tarot vendor getting jobs and Cherokeeans getting them. And this is a step that is long overdue that we need to take. We make this possible and basically just move percentage, folks. If we don't do anything else in 4-year, 6-year term that some might be in, advance laws, hiring these and make sure that the dollars go to the pocket. Let's just the cost of making sure cars are tenders. Let's be nice to that it's those cars. We don't do anything else during time. Let all those that we do this happened. Got this in a point in time. Two things are those things that they disadded independent opportunity. And this is the important thing for people. What